Hi, I'm back. It is day 9 post chemo. I think I'm on day 9 because we count day 1 of chemo as day 1 of the infusion cycle. So that was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, day 9. And let me just tell you how my week was. Friday was infusion, got lots of pre-meds, slept, felt fine, also got a steroid, so that kind of combated the really bad side effects and kind of gives you energy. Saturday woke up feeling tired, but still pretty okay. Sunday things started to turn for the worst. I woke up and I mostly was just tired. And then my older brother and sister-in-law and the kids came over to go out to lunch with my mom and I. And I remember starting to feel like nauseous, but I was starving. So I ate all my meal plus a bunch of chips. Then we walked out on the waterfront down at a place called Alki. So we went out to lunch and I was definitely getting more and more tired. By the time lunch was over, my legs started feeling like tree trunks. And I remember thinking this is weird. So then we leave and head home, and I'm just getting more and more tired as we head home. So I get home, lay on the couch, and I am just exhausted. And I doze off for a while, and when I wake up, I start feeling like I have a fever. By about 5 o'clock, I have a full-blown fever. It's at about 100.1. At 100.5, I'm supposed to call the doctor, the emergency line. So, I mean, we technically probably should have called. Then the bone pain and the neuropathy kicked in. The bone pain was probably the hardest part. The neuropathy, like, I think we've all kind of experienced a little bit of neuropathy, maybe with just like numbness and tingling in our fingers. I don't know. I have before. The bone pain. The bone pain is a different story. There is no way I even could begin to describe how horrible it is. And I don't remember being told about taking Claritin, so I wasn't taking anything and I was just debilitated on the couch. So I'm dealing with the bone pain, the neuropathy, nausea at this point, and 100.1 fever. About 6 p.m., I'm in my bedroom and my fever breaks. My mom takes my temperature again and it's down to, I think, 98, and then eventually down to like 97 or something. But the bone pain has not gone away. And so, sorry, Louie is wrestling with me right now. So I go to bed and I'm laughing because I could barely sleep. I could barely stop moving because I was just trying to distract myself from the bone pain. I think I took 2 Benadryl and fell asleep, and then woke up in the morning and could barely walk. And when I say I was terrified because nobody really explains this to you. And you can watch as many YouTube videos as you want, but you will never get the full picture of what it feels like until you go through it yourself. So Monday, my younger brother brought his daughters over and I just laid up on the couch and tried my best to be there with them and be present. It was great seeing them, but I just wasn't the normal auntie that I usually am. Tuesday, things were still not getting better. So I finally my-charted my doctor at this point. Or I my-charted them on Monday and said, hey, I just want to let you know that I had a fever. And then Tuesday, I my-charted them again and I said, like, I can't handle this bone pain. Is there anything that we can do? So then I went in on Wednesday and finally he wrote me a prescription for gabapentin for nerve pain. I am to take Claritin for bone pain. Oh my gosh, if I can give you any piece of advice before you start chemotherapy, take Claritin. I mean, talk to your doctor first, but take Claritin because it is a game changer and it is a night and day difference. And I woke up Thursday still feeling the tingling and the bone pain sensation. Like by mid-morning, I was probably 75% back to myself. And I would say that today is Saturday, I would say I am about 88% back to myself. I mean, I got up this morning, I've been working on my kitchen, Now it's about 11:30 and I'm just starting to kind of get tired. I will say the one thing I'm really struggling with is chemo-induced insomnia, and that's a real thing. And I'm dealing with a lot of chemo brain. And I used to always laugh at my mom when she would say that, but it's real. Like, I will think of something that I want to go do in the kitchen and when I'm in the living room, and on my way to walking to do the thing, I will forget what I was walking back there to do. So that gives you an idea of what it's like. It's just been a rough week. But on Thursday, when I turned that corner, oh, I have never felt so grateful in my whole entire life, I don't think. Now I feel like I have a pretty good idea of what my weeks will look like. And I was even out in my shop working both Thursday and Friday, which was amazing. I don't have any footage because I was just like so in the moment. One thing I will say I've been doing a lot of is taking baths. I've been taking up to 2 baths a day with Epsom salt, which helps. It like just takes the pressure. I still have the neuropathy. I still have some residual bone pain, mostly like it's like feels like arthritis like in my knees and my ankles, but I can deal with this level. This level is totally doable. Yeah, so I'm gonna actually go take a bath right now, and then I will come back and chat a little bit more. All right, so it's actually a couple days later than the original video because I've just been tired, and I feel like a bunch of people around me have colds, and I am trying so hard not to get sick right now because I am in what is called nadir. That is when all of your counts are the lowest and you're more susceptible to infection. So I'm just trying to stay healthy, and it's hard. I'm masking everywhere I go now, but I do feel like I'm coming down with something. So I'm just juicing a lot and taking a lot of vitamins and vitamin C and trying to get a leg up a little bit on this so it doesn't turn into something more. All right, so before we get into what I want to talk about today, I have developed a rash all over my body, and I was warned that this might happen. It's either from chemotherapy or it's from immunotherapy, and it's not really that noticeable. It's more noticeable on my thighs. I put it out on Instagram and I was talking about it a bit, and I was met with a lot of questions like, what am I putting on it? What am I using for it? Honestly, I'm taking Benadryl at night to go to bed, and that seems to help. Other than that, I don't really want to take a cortisone cream right now. It's not so bad that I feel like I'm like itching all the time. But what I am using, and I wanted to share this with you because I really want to share things that I love as I go and if they're applicable. What I am using is my Osea body butter. If you have not heard of Osea, it is an incredible brand, and it's very clean products. This body butter, I don't even know how to describe it. I'm very sensitive to what kind of lotions and what kind of things I put on my body, and I hate really greasy lotions. This, let me see if I can show you. This is like just thick and smells incredible, and it goes on and absorbs in, not greasy, and it just feels wonderful, and it's kind of like cooling, and it also keeps my skin very moisturized. Another side effect of chemotherapy is very dry skin. That, coupled with being in the middle of winter, my skin is a mess right now. So I just wanted to tell you about this. I highly recommend it. I will link it below, and I also have a discount code. It's Whitworth10, and you get 10% off your purchase. I actually have several products coming from them, and I'll tell you about them later once I've used them for a little bit. But I have used my sister-in-law's. The products I'm getting at my sister-in-law has them, and I have used them a bunch, and they're unbeatable. I cannot speak more highly of them, and she loves them, and I know several other people that just love Osea as well. Definitely recommend checking them out. I thought it would be really fun this week to switch gears a little bit. I was laying in bed and I was thinking how I didn't realize I was an artist until I was 35, and I've done a video on this before, and I'll link it above if you want to go back and watch that. I was thinking about what I wish I had known prior to taking the leap, maybe these things would have helped me take the leap a little bit sooner, or maybe helped me have a little bit more confidence in myself as an artist and a creative. That's what we're gonna go through today. The 5 things I wish I would have known prior to realizing I was an artist. Number 1, follow what makes you curious. This is huge to me because I think that I was always an artist. From the time I was a little kid, I was very creative. I wanted to go into acting. I wanted to go into theater. I love drawing. I love coming up with these wild and imaginative scenarios in my head. I loved creating my Barbie homes out of my mom's 1980 belts. So I think that it was always there. I had a huge imagination, but obviously, like so many of us, I just kind of wanted to fit in and didn't end up going down that path until much later. But looking back, there were so many hints along the way. I loved my art classes. All I wanted to do was take art classes. When I was gonna go away to college, one day I remember she was like, you know, honey, why don't you not go to college and just stay home and go to community college and take like interior design classes or something like that. So it's just interesting looking back and seeing how the path was kind of always leading me in this direction. But it wasn't until I was in my late 20s that I began writing, and that was kind of my first creative outlet. And I just started getting these like intuitive pushes to pursue it. And so I started a blog, and people really started to receive it wonderfully. My grammar was horrible, my spelling was horrible, but I could get my feelings onto paper really easily. And then when I was a bit older, I had moved home, and at this point I moved down to Oregon, and I was with somebody and we were getting married, and I had the privilege of staying home. I didn't have to work at that time, and I really got into DIY around my house. It was the first time I ever used a saw, although the like bigger hint to get a saw would come much later. I just realized that I loved putting all of my creative ideas into action. My marriage ended and I moved back to Seattle and eventually down to Encinitas, California. That is when things really took off. And I think because I was alone for the first time, I knew like one person, and I was probably more in tune with my intuition than I'd ever been before. And so I kept getting these little breadcrumbs or like these little pings or intuitive hits. And at this point in my life, I kind of felt like I had nothing to lose. So I started following them, which led me to buying a saw. And there's a whole story behind that maybe I'll tell some other time. But I bought a saw, didn't use it for about 7 months. Finally one day I was like, you know what? It's either now or never. So I went out and used it, and I never looked back. But before that, I started off with painting and wood burning, just kind of putting my stuff out there a little bit more, showing it more on social media. It was being received really well. And when I created my first wood mosaic art piece, it sold right away. And so I knew I was onto something. And that's kind of how I've lived my life ever since. I just follow where I'm being pulled. And that's how I started incorporating furniture clipping into my business. It's how I got into home design and decorating and just DIY. I love doing that to my house, and more so than anything, I love home projects. All of this came about by just listening to myself, and I feel like life always has a way of telling you what direction to go, but we have to be brave enough to listen. So number 2, you are constantly going to evolve, so just begin. This one took me forever because I can be a bit, I wouldn't say I'm a perfectionist, but I want things to be a certain way for sure. I think I'm so afraid of being judged well, I can't necessarily say that now. I think I've developed a much thicker skin, but in the past I was so afraid of people not liking what I wanted to put out in the world that I just wouldn't even begin. The thing is, you are constantly going to be evolving as an artist. And so what you may be doing now is going to change. Started off with wood burning. I incorporated painting into my wood burning. From there I went into just only woodworking. I was furniture flipping, but only for myself, like for as long as I can remember. My like mosaics turned into my geometrical pieces, and then at some point I got the intuitive, like, I don't know, the idea just came to me to start my landscaping pieces, and it's just continued to evolve from there. Sometime about 1.5 years ago, I started getting the little nudge to start incorporating more furniture flipping into my business, and it just took off from there. And now I have a huge long list of commissions for furniture flipping. Don't be afraid to start. Just start and just put your stuff out there, put yourself out there, just create what you want to create and listen to those pings the whole time and just begin. This is number 3, YouTube and Pinterest are your best friends. I cannot express this enough. I didn't go to art school. Everything that I do has been self-taught, has been driven by curiosity, and anytime I want to learn something, I turn to YouTube. Anytime I am curious about design stuff or want ideas, especially for my home, I turn to Pinterest. That is how I have learned everything. YouTube is just a wealth of knowledge, and it's basically a search engine, so you can type in anything and learn almost anything. There are so many experts putting stuff out there. I do want to touch on one thing. Just because you see something that you really like on YouTube or Pinterest does not mean that it's okay to copy somebody directly and try to resell it. I think that there's a little bit of gray area when you're like replicating something for your home. But if you are trying to create a product, sell it like on Etsy or your website, you have to figure out a way to make it original to you. That's not to say that we aren't inspired by other artists or get ideas from them, but to directly copy somebody, it's heartbreaking as an artist. I've had people directly copy me. I have friends who've had this, and it's a frustrating process, which leads me to number 4, and that's develop your own style. And in the beginning, yeah, maybe you're kind of like looking at what other people are doing, but the more you learn to trust yourself and the more you learn to listen to what is trying to be born from you, the more you will develop your own original style. Honestly, copying somebody shouldn't make you feel proud. What should make you feel proud is when you've put your blood, sweat, and tears into something and come up with your own original work, and then you put it out into the world. That is a very proud moment. It's hard now with things like Instagram and TikTok and even Pinterest, because we are all putting our work out there for people to find it, but unfortunately along the way, people who want to replicate it and copy it are going to find it too. So the chances of being copied directly are pretty high. And again, you have to have a thick skin in that department too. And I am honestly a firm believer that the people that are meant to find your work will find it no matter what. So even if you find that somebody's copying your work and you approach them and they won't stop doing it, you just got to stay true to yourself and just keep going and keep producing the stuff that needs to come from you. And number 5, and the last one, take classes. I think that sometimes with social media, we look at it and we think that everybody is just naturally really, really good at things. It's something like 10,000 hours to be considered an expert at something. And a great way to get better is to take classes. Classes offer you a wealth of knowledge. They offer you the expertise you may need. And there are so many different resources out there. There are online classes like Masterclass, Udemy. Try to think of some more and put them in the description below. But I think it's also great to go out into the world and go to an art institute, or there's so many community college classes or just workshop classes that you can take too. Always want to continue to better yourself and find new ways of approaching your art and new techniques. So classes are incredible for this. Obviously, this is not an exhaustive list. There's so many other things that I wish I had known before I started down this path, and maybe I'll do another video down the road. I think these are the top 5 that I could think of right now. I hope that if you come across this video and you feel called to put art out into the world, that maybe you think about these things and you can apply them, and maybe your path will be a little bit easier than some of us. With that being said, I hope you are all well. I'm feeling pretty good. These videos are taking me a little bit longer to do right now just because I don't have as much energy. So I'm hoping still to put out one video a week and to kind of touch on some different topics, not just be totally cancer focused, even though that's a huge thing that's going on in my life right now. I appreciate you being here. If you haven't already, subscribe, like, hit the thumbs up, and I will see you next time. Bye.